first day of elk season, and it never ceases to amaze me, like how big these damn mountains are. I thought this would be a good spot to talk about my experience at the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. So today's the 2nd of September, the 31st of August. I traveled out to Arizona, and yesterday I met with Mark and Andy, and I met the team there. It was a great experience. So I was mistaken. I thought we were going to do a podcast kind of a thing, but it was just a testimonial. Like, I was just talking into the camera about my experience with AOR. Spoiler alert, it's been really good. As soon as you walk into the building of Attorneys for Freedom law firm, you immediately get this sense of excellence. White tile floors, stone on the walls. Throughout the building, there are slogans and motivational quotes that that align with the mission of the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. So that's my first impressions. So during my tour, I was able to check out their studio, and I was I was a little bit surprised. The studio is maybe 10 by 15 feet, and on YouTube it looks a little bit bigger, I guess. But now I look at it differently because I know how small it is. And they're about to do some renovations. So I was the last filming in that new studio, and yeah, they seem to have kind of I guess almost a sadness, because they had done so much in that one little tiny studio that, now it's not going to be a tiny studio anymore. So there's definitely some good relationships there in the office. So as we got prepared for the testimony, they asked me to go over who I am and what's my role in the Second Amendment community, and then my experience with AOR and the transition from the old AOR membership plan to the new AOR membership plan. I'm not sure how long the video is going to be. It might be 2 minutes or so. Okay, so there's 6 points that I want to kind of go over here about the actual Attorneys on Retainer program. The first point being the 3 things that need to happen for you to be covered. 1, you have to be an AOR member. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't even know why we would have to say that. I mean, it just sounds intuitive, but anyway, you have to be an AOR member, of course, and paid in full up to that point of your self-defense situation, if you ever have one. Hopefully you never do. Then you have to act in good faith in the self-defense incident, right? So you can't just go punch somebody in the face and say, oh, I was defending myself. There has to be a reason behind that, okay? So that's the good faith. We'll get in that in a little bit. And then you have to be charged with a crime or likely to be charged with a crime. I think the way they say it is have a reasonable suspicion you're going to be charged with a crime. So that's the first point. I had a little bit of mix up in my understanding of the program. So those criteria absolutely have to be met. And I posed the question, well, what about an accidental discharge? Only if it's in the moment of self-defense, right? So let's say you go to draw your firearm and you accidentally fire and there's still an imminent threat coming. Okay, it's covered there, but it is not covered if you just have an accidental discharge. Let's say you go to clean your gun or whatever and you forgot to clear the pistol or the rifle. Not covered. So it's very important, I think, to Mark, because we had talked about this. We want responsible gun owners, and that is 100% true, right? We definitely want responsible gun owners. So if you have an accidental discharge because you forgot to clear your firearm before you went to go clean it, I think that's on you. And now, if you go have an accidental discharge while in the heat of the moment, you're trying to defend yourself, that's a little bit more understandable because you're, all amped up on Mountain Dew, let's say. The strike force, as they call it, is 5 teams that rotate week to week to week to week. So every 5 weeks, there's one big rotation of the teams, right? Each team has a minimum of 1 lawyer and 2 paralegals on standby. If for whatever reason the primary team can't answer the phone or doesn't answer the phone or whatever, when you're calling, it's rotating through everyone's phone. At least that's my understanding. They brag about the fact that they haven't missed a call. So that's the strike force, and that's coming from Ranger Battalion. We had cycles. You had red cycle, yellow cycle, green cycle, and depending on what cycle you were is kind of how close you needed to be to the base, right? Because in case you were recalled, kind of a thing. So I understand that kind of cycle that they're talking about, and it's on a weekly basis. So it's pretty rad that they do that. So you're in good hands there. What does good faith self-defense mean? That's a big question, right? Like, what is good faith self-defense? Okay. Good faith self-defense. I seem to understand it pretty well, I think, right? If somebody attacks me, and I can say that if somebody attacks me and I defend myself, that's good faith, right? But here's the thing. I talked to Mark, Andy, and Braden about this exact question. Like, what the hell is good faith exactly? Good faith self-defense. Because to some, it's not exactly clear. And what they tell me is that they err on the side of caution, and they take the case, right? Like immediately in the immediacy of the incident, they're gonna do what they need to do. But if it comes down to it, that you were actually the aggressor. They didn't explicitly say this, but I imagine they're gonna drop you. So if you turn out to be the aggressor, then yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not going to cover that, right? But in the imminency of the situation, if you call them, their strike force is going to spring into action, and then let the facts come out as they come out, and go from there, right? Now I say that because we have to remember the Kayla Giles case. Just to recap here, she was in her vehicle. Her husband came to the vehicle, who not only towers above her, but is also trained in martial arts. So he moves to the vehicle, right? Opens the door of her vehicle where she is supposed to be reasonably have some safeguarding there. Kayla shoots her husband. He dies. She gets charged, I think with second-degree murder. Now she's charged She had USCCA. USCCA paid the $50,000 initially as the retainer. That brings me to another point. Imagine having to pay $50,000 to a lawyer just to retain them. So that's another reason why you should probably go ahead and get AOR, right? Because it's a reoccurring retainer, and you're probably not going to reach that $50,000 threshold. Anyway, back on the story. They drop her, and then Tim Schmidt of USCCA gets online and in front of a camera and posts this so the entire world can see. He drug her right through the mud. That's the kind of company that is. That I don't want that company. No way. No way, no how. Ain't happening. Then comes the Louisiana Supreme Court. And they're like, this looks like a self-defense incident. Remand it back down to the lower court. So here's some news for you. And I got this straight out of Mark and Andy's mouth. They are going to represent Kaylee Giles pro bono. Wonderful stuff, right? They're going to represent her. In my opinion, she deserves that. So I hope they come out on top. Okay, here's another piece of information that might persuade you to become an AOR member. Every month, the entire staff of lawyers employed by Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm, every month they go over every case that is active within that firm. Dude, there's like 10 or 12 lawyers there, to include Mark and Andy, of course. Every month, every single one of those lawyers and every single one of those paralegals over there have knowledge of every single one of those cases. And this gives me peace of mind, knowing that it's not just Mark and Andy, right? It's a team of lawyers ready to represent you at a moment's notice, as long as you meet the 3 criteria. Like, it's pretty cut and dry on who to go with. It's not some nimwit sitting behind a computer trying to figure out if it's covered or not. I'm just saying. Imagine, the guy that calls you and can barely speak English, and you're like, dude, what are you calling me for? Imagine that guy sitting behind a computer saying, oh, we can't cover this. It's not self-defense or whatever the excuse is, okay? Imagine that. No, it's not that guy with AOR. It is a team of lawyers ready to represent you at a moment's notice. So that is, if that doesn't persuade you to go to AOR, yeah, I don't know what will. That's probably the most promising thing that I could probably say on this video, is that the team of lawyers sit around every month, like at Knights of the Round Table, right? It's like the lawyers of the Round Table. They're going through all the cases, right? The 5th point I'm going to go over is that AR team has a network of lawyers outside of the AOR employership. They have these lawyers in every state that they can call upon to represent you in a moment's notice. You could pick your own lawyer. I wouldn't advise it. You don't have the time or the effort that you need to research a lawyer that's going to represent you in your state. Not to mention, if you get the national membership program, I think it's $25 a month for each person in your household for a family plan. $25 a month each person. That's $50 a month for a couple. right? So $50 a month for a couple. For the national plan, which means they have a team, or excuse me, they have a network of lawyers in every state. So even if you did have time to look for a reputable lawyer in your state that you want to represent you, and you're confident they're going to be good at it, right? You definitely don't have time to do that for all 50 states. So if you travel like I do, then the national plan is absolutely the best option for you. On that, picking a lawyer. If you decide that you want to pick a lawyer, I definitely wouldn't suggest picking a friend of a friend. Don't pick a lawyer because they're a friend or because they're a friend of a friend, right? That would be counterintuitive. They may be your friend and they may be the best lawyer at what they do, but if they're doing all kinds of different things like family law and self-defense and or criminal law and all these other things, right? Then they're not focused and they're not specialized on self-defense application. You see, get my drift? This is the reason why special forces guys, and we'll put it into layman's terms here. Special forces guys have a bunch of different jobs, just a bunch of different jobs that they have to do, right? Their mission is a bunch of different things. Ranger Battalion does not have a bunch of different things. They have one thing: land on the objective and just accomplish the mission through brute force, right? So that's it. That's why they're so damn good at it, okay? So imagine putting that in like a lawyer perspective. If you have a lawyer that's doing, family law, and then he's doing criminal defense and maybe tax law or whatever, they've got all these things going on. They're jack of all trades, but they're not an expert at one of them, okay? With AOR and the Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm, you get expert service, period, right off the get for self-defense. Okay, and the final point here, point 6, it's pretty apparent that these paralegals are very knowledgeable of, obviously, the AOR program, the Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm, the Risk Retention Group program that falls under all that, right? So the thing is, like, you want these paralegals to understand all those nuances when it comes to self-defense and so on and so forth, because they're basically like a liaison between, the attorney and the court. Okay, that's basically what they are. They draft all the paperwork, all that stuff. They get it to the attorney. The attorney says, okay, yes, change this, no, whatever, and then they go and they file the paperwork. So they are very punctual and very, very professional in their duties. All right, lastly, before I sign off here, so I can't remember everybody's name, but I just can't, right? So everybody was exceptional there, and I really enjoyed meeting everybody. So a couple words and a couple thank yous to some of the folks there. So Mark is very energetic, just excited about the mission and excited about the live and let live kind of way of being, okay? So thank you, Mark, for inviting me, first of all. Thank you so much. Andy is a quiet, tall, low voice kind of a man. He's a great dude. He's super knowledgeable, right? In fact, we were talking about Colorado laws here yesterday, and we actually brought up the law, right? The law of defense within your home, and there's some things he gave me to chew on about that law, and I was very very humbled, to say the least, because he said, of the states that he looked into when it comes to castle doctrine, Colorado has the strongest doctrine there is. But there are some pitfalls in there. So just, even though it says shall be immune from civil and criminal liability, there still could be some pitfalls in there. So we all agree that you should, if you have the ability not to shoot somebody, then you shouldn't shoot them. Sarah, she's like this go-getter boss lady person. Like she's always like fidgeting, and she's great. She's wonderful. I enjoyed talking to her. I talked to her quite a bit about maybe some improvements with the AOR program and the affiliate portion of that program. So maybe they'll take some of my suggestions. Maybe they won't. Honestly, the program itself is pretty damn good. So to improve it even more, which is what they're trying to do, because she asked me specifically, like, well, what do you think we should do to improve the program? I'm like, man, I don't know. It's already a good program. So we brainstormed for, I don't know, about 45 minutes, and maybe something will come down the pipe. So thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it. Zach is the YouTube guy. I call him YouTube guy, right? He's the social media guru, and he's super knowledgeable. And I asked him some questions about the YouTube stuff, and he's more than willing to answer them for me. So I really appreciate that, Zach. Thank you so much. Let's see. And then we have Craig. Craig was my chauffeur. Craig, a humble kind of a guy, built like a brick house, and just a pleasure to talk to. So also like just super nice as well, right? Super nice, super humble, just and he looks like somebody you don't want to mess with. So if you mess with him, like, you got what's coming to you, right? But anyway, so thank you so much, Craig, for driving me around, being my chauffeur and stuff. I really appreciate it. And then lastly, Braden. Braden, thanks for showing me around the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. Thanks for all the questions that you answered for me. Like, I had a lot of questions for you, and you answered all of them. So I super appreciate that, and because I will take that knowledge, and I will definitely answer those same questions from my customers and clients. So really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Okay, final thoughts, then I'll sign off. Okay, look, when I walked out of that building, I left with more than just leaving a testimonial, right? I personally left with their mission, their focus, and their dedication to the AOR program. And that gives me peace of mind to no end, right? I know that if I have to defend myself for whatever reason, I meet those 3 criteria that we talked about earlier: AOR member, good faith self-defense, charged with a crime or reasonably likely to be charged with a crime, I know that I'm covered, and I am good hands. I am in good hands, right? So, I mean, I laid it all out for you, right? They're going to represent Kayla Giles in her case, because they know that that was a self-defense incident, and hopefully they're going to come out on top. And they're doing it without charging a dime. They have 5 teams that rotate on a weekly basis, right? And each one of those teams has a minimum of 1 lawyer and 2 paralegals that is ready to act when you call in, okay? In addition, if somebody doesn't answer, it just goes to the next person. Somebody will answer the phone for you. They sit around, by they I mean the attorneys and the paralegals sit around once a month, and they go over all the active cases of the firm. Every single active case gets looked over, reviewed, like every single one, right? Just so everybody's up to date, okay? So that is just a phenomenal thing. So if you become an AOR member, you are also an affiliate. So you could potentially make enough money to pay for your membership. Isn't that wild? You could potentially make enough money to pay for your membership. I have already. I've made enough money to pay for 3 memberships. So, I'm just telling you right now, right? This is going to be the best program that you could possibly find, okay? Yeah, there's some things they don't cover. For example, accidental discharge separate from self-defense, okay? Now, if you have an accidental discharge in conjunction with the whole self-defense thing, okay, there you go, right? There's some things, right, that you probably would want, but ultimately you want to be able to defend yourself and then go home at the end of the day, right? So if you're worried about having an accidental discharge or something of that nature, well, just do more training. And that's where I come in. Come see me at AAAcoach.com. Tack out.